Does the name Amelia Earhart ring a bell? Of course it does. That was the first woman to cross the Atlantic Ocean. But does anybody know the first man to cross the Atlantic Ocean? Today, I'm going to talk about the life of Charles Lindbergh, the first man to make the transatlantic crossing by airplane in one trip, and the achievements he accomplished throughout his lifetime. The reason I chose this topic is because I'm from the same town that he grew up in, and while everyone there knows all about him, people in other places seem to not. My first point will talk about Charles' younger life and where he grew up. My second point is about what he had accomplished in his later life and what he did during the growing age of aviation. Charles Lindbergh's life was an interesting one. Not many people during this time were doing the things he was. This truly makes him a one of a kind. Charles accomplished many things. Let's talk about those. The first point I will talk about is what his life was like growing up. Charles was born in Michigan, but actually grew up in my hometown of Little Falls. His house was on the Mississippi River. The house is now a tourist attraction from our old town, according to the Little Falls, Minnesota website. Growing up, Charles was a daredevil. According to History.com, after leaving to fly at Nebraska Aircraft Corporation, Charles had spent the next couple of years as a stuntman doing barnstorming stunts all throughout Central America. He became the most popular stuntman around. The house he grew up in is a nice place to visit. I have gone a few times myself. Charles lived an adventurous young life. That is irrelevant compared to his adulthood. He was an experienced flyer. He is famous for his transatlantic crossing in the Spirit of St. Louis airplane. The flight was dangerous. He had spent 33 hours without sleeping beforehand, and so the total of the flight equated to 55 hours without sleep. He had reported he hallucinated during the flight. While weather conditions were rough, that may not be true. He could have been imagining, but who's to say. He also received media attention when his child was kidnapped. The only evidence they ever found leading to the kidnapping is the homemade ladder that they found leading up to his baby's window. And according to LindberghBabyKidnapping.com, even Al Capone himself had offered his help to find the Lindbergh baby boy. Charles Lindbergh lived an eventful life. I cherish the fact that I can say I grew up less than a few miles just from where he did. The life of Charles Lindbergh is interesting, from the kidnapping of his child to the amazing transatlantic crossing in the Spirit of St. Louis airplane. Everyone knows the first woman to fly across the ocean. But do you know the first man? Now that I've had the chance to tell you his life story, I think we can come to the conclusion that you do now.